Hello everyone, thank you so much for clicking on my video. So this will be the first of a series of AutoCAD tutorials. However, for this set of tutorials, I'm going to be using a very similar tool called NanoCAD. Now, if you go to nanocad.com, you'll see this website. What we want to do, we do not want to get the free trial. This is for the newest version of NanoCAD. However, in their website, they do have a free version. It is an older, a little slightly outdated version, but it's absolutely free, and that's what we're going to be using. So if you go over to products, click on NanoCAD free. You could review some of the documentation. This is kind of a list of the limitations that it has. But however, for the purposes of learning the interface, especially since it's so similar to AutoCAD, this is what we're going to be using. Best of all, it's absolutely free. So yeah, once you're here, you have to click download. This is version 5. Just to kind of give you a comparison, I think the latest version is version 22. So that shows you how outdated it is. Again, it's a perfectly functional tool. The only thing is that when you downloaded it, once you get it started, it will ask you to register it. All you need is an email address, and then you verify that email, and I think they'll send you like a registration code or a serial number or something like that. And then once it's registered, it's pretty much yours to do with as you see fit. Now, once you get it registered, and if anybody has any issues with the registration, I might do a video on that, but for now I'm just going to skip over that part just to show you the interface. Once you get it started, this is what it looks like. If I'm being honest, I typically just exit out of this, and you'll see this blank page. So what you want to do is start a new document. Okay. So this is your basic interface. Again, if you're familiar with AutoCAD or have at least seen used AutoCAD to some degree, again, it looks a little different, especially from the latest versions. However, the functionality is surprisingly similar. What I'm going to be using for this tutorial is this list of aliases. No, when I learned AutoCAD, we were instructed to strictly use only this list of aliases. So I've kind of redeveloped what each one does and how it differs from AutoCAD, if it differs from AutoCAD. For example, there are a few of these aliases that don't work on NanoCAD, but they will on AutoCAD. So I included them anyway. But going back to NanoCAD, the first thing I typically do is when you open a new drawing, you have to look for the template that you want. However, in this case, because I don't really have any templates, let's go ahead and set up the template that we need. So the first thing I would do is I would set up my layers. As you could see here, we usually just start off with layer 0 and definition points, or def points. And the template that you need really depends on the project you want or the project you're working on. In this set of tutorials, I want to build like a small shed, so I want something to be kind of leaning towards architecture. So we're gonna set that up first. So what I want to do is I want to create a new layer, maybe call that walls for the walls, since this tutorial is going to lean a little more towards the architecture side. We're going to have line type, line weight, everything looks good. Maybe another one. Let's see, what else? Doors and windows. I usually make that, okay, can't use, all right, let's doors and windows. Typically I make that yellow. A new one, I want, let's see, framing I want another one called hidden. Oh, actually, as you're making them, you also, if you want to change the line weights to something that makes sense, typically, for example, in architecture, walls, the line weight of your lines are a little bit thicker than, for example, your hidden lines, and so on and so forth. For now, I'm just going to leave them as default. However, for hidden, typically you want those lines to appear dashed. So what you want to do is change the line type, except the line type, the only option for line type is continuous. So what we want to do is close out of this. We'll be right back to it. Go to Format, here where it says Style. And keep in mind, there's one for text style and one for dimension styles and point styles. However, for lines, it just says styles. What we want to do here, as you can see, you have the options by block, by layer, or continuous. What we want to do is add more of this. So what I'm going to do is load line type. For now, I'm just going to use the NCAD inch line or lin file. And I want to load hidden. Okay, so I loaded that one. And you know what, while I'm here, I'm also gonna load another one that I use is center. Where is it? Center. I don't know if I'm gonna be using this for this tutorial, but I'm gonna load it anyway. The only downside to loading those is it might make your file just a little bit bigger, but it's not that big of a deal, especially in today's day and age. So what I'm gonna do is under hidden, I'm going to make this line type hidden. Oh, I forgot. Typically framing, I make that, I make that green. Okay. So those are your layers, and I know I'm missing a lot, and I'm going to be adding to them as we go along. But that's just kind of a quick overview of that. What I want to do next is, again, this drawing is going to lean heavily towards architecture. So what I want to do is change or ensure that my units are set properly. So what I want to do is, according to my alias list here, there is a command called un units. So what I want to do, whenever you use an alias, you type the alias and you either hit enter or space. You can see the command down here in your command line. I just hit space just because it's a bigger button. And we see that for our length, we want to change that to architectural. We want our precision to be 1/16. That looks good. Angle, decimal degrees, precision, 0. Sure, okay. Everything else looks good. Insertion scale inserted. I'm just going to change that to inches. Because, again, I'm in the US and these are the units we use. I might make another video using millimeters or something, but for now we'll stick to architectural inches. There's also decimal, I think, like decimal inches or decimal feet. So yeah, architectural inches. So this is the type of dimension you want, and these are your units. In this case, we want inches. Okay. So yeah. Oh, actually, before I go on, I'll go ahead and show you now what I want to do. Now, I've seen several people not use layers and just draw everything in layer 0, and typically that's fine, but in my opinion, I have gotten into the habit of creating layers just because it does make my life a little bit easier for little projects and whatnot. But again, to each their own. I'm going to do this anyway, especially for the purpose of the tutorial. Okay, so I'm going to switch to my walls layer, and I just wanted to show you all. Again, going back to our list of aliases, the one that I'm going, or the few that I'm going to be using a lot in this first tutorial is line and rectangle. Okay, so REC and L for line. So I had already typed L. So L, enter, or space. Again, I use space because it's a bigger button. And I'm going to make this line. So one of the biggest differences between this version of NanoCad and AutoCAD is that here, if you want to make a line, say, 6 feet long, you could just put your mouse in this direction and put 6 apostrophe being feet, and again, going back, what I want to measure this just to make sure it is 6 feet long. So DI for distance, DI from here to here, and 6 feet. I have noticed that sometimes I have issues with that, especially when making a rectangle that you have to specify a different corner or the opposing corner. So let me try that with a rectangle now. Specify first corner. Typically, you want, if it's a linear distance, then you don't have to put the @ symbol. However, whenever you have 2 different corners, like in this rectangle, you do have to, whenever you have Cartesian coordinates, which is what the rectangle kind of follows, you have to put the @ symbol first. So I'm going to do that 2 by 3, 2 apostrophe, so 2 feet, comma, 3 feet. Okay, and again, if we measure our distances here and here, 2 feet by 3 feet. Okay, now let's redo that without using the @ symbol, right? So I'm going to draw that again, maybe out on this side. So REC, enter, this corner, and then I'm going to say 2 feet, comma, 3 feet. Okay. Why did it draw the second corner down here? Because without that @ symbol, what the @ symbol says is, hey, start from my previous point. Without that @ symbol, it's going to give you what they call absolute coordinates. So if you were to measure from this 0, it would measure 2 feet over and 3 feet up. So it's very important to include the @ symbol whenever you're drawing out coordinates like this. Again, whenever you're drawing linear dimensions like in a line, so if you were to L space, if you were to draw a 2-foot line this way, you don't need the @ symbol. Only when you're doing Cartesian coordinates. Okay, so the other very important command that I like to use, and I use it a lot because we all make mistakes, is E for erase. So erase. Another thing that's handy too, I'm just going to draw a few lines here, 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 here. Another few things to kind of keep in mind. If you draw your window, so if you select, you click any point, right, and you move it to the right, you'll form this blue window. If you move it to the left, though, you'll form a green window. What's the difference? Well, notice that the green window has dashed lines, meaning that it will select anything touching those lines or anything within the window itself. The blue window, however, doesn't select anything that's touching the lines. It only selects everything that's completely within the window. So erase. Or another way of doing it, if you have too many things on screen, I wouldn't recommend this just because you could lose a lot of progress with this, but if you're brave enough, you could try EAL for erase all. Oops, oh wait, no. Erase, I'm sorry, yeah. So E, enter, and then AL for all. And then it selects everything on screen, and then you hit enter again, and it'll erase everything. Okay, so today, let's just get started with a quick little shack. Oh, also keep in mind, this is your coordinate system. Personally, I just ignore it as long as you're using the at symbol whenever you're drawing coordinates, it should always, or like you really don't need to reference this really at all. Okay, so let's start with our basic walls. So we want to draw a rectangle, and let's say we want, I don't know, how big do y'all want your room, your shack? I'm gonna say 20 feet by, oh, you know what? I'm gonna add some inches here. So what I'm gonna do is 20 feet in the X direction. Whoops. And you know what? I forgot the at symbol. First thing I tell you guys, first thing I forget. I'm gonna say 22 feet and 8 inches. So again, I personally like to measure everything just to make sure everything is as I drew it. 22 feet, 8 inches. Keep in mind, whenever you don't include the apostrophe, it's going to assume inches. Same thing. So whenever I input this command, I put, oops, here it is, 22 apostrophe 8. I didn't include the inch symbol because it just assumes inches. Okay. So typically, walls, at least here in the US, our walls are 4 inches wide. So what I want to do, again, referencing our little list here, there is a command called offset. So what offset does, it literally makes a copy of parallel to the line that you're selecting. In this case, since this line is attached to is part of a rectangle, it sees the rectangle as a whole. So what I'm going to do is hit offset, enter, specify distance 4 inches, and then where do you want it, on the inside or on the outside? I want it on the outside. Okay, cool. And I think I'm going to call it here for now. Thank you all for watching, and we will be adding more details to our little shed as we go along. Thanks again for watching, and have a good one.